Okay then, welcome to the third and final part of the tier list of the characters from the Walking Dead game. Previously, we've done the first season and then the second, and here we'll be doing both the third and the fourth. But I might actually see how far we've got once we've done the third before I do the fourth. I keep doing this. I don't know what it is. I keep moving the entire thing. It's a bit strange. But you know the rules. You know how it needs to do. I've made it a bit bigger just so that I don't have to. Hopefully, there's enough spaces up and down for every character without having to go into the actual text. But we'll see, I guess. So we begin with Javier, the protagonist of season 3, who despite all of, well, let's put it this way, despite all of my efforts, sort of has to be unforgettable. Because he is the protagonist, he is someone who you sort of remember being the dude from season 3. He is the force for season 3, of course. So I will just put him in unforgettable. Because he just sort of has to be. I don't see any other way about it. Then we move on to David, who is the brother of Javier, the older brother. And I think one of the more interesting people from season 3, which is not saying much, but it is saying something. In that he is one of the only characters who actually has some sort of depth to them, in that there was a past, there's a present, and the way he acts is a certain way. Certified, I would say, yeah, certified G for that. But where? I'm not so sure. Here, I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put him there. After that we have Gabe, or Gabriel, who is nephew of Javier, son of David. But there is a good decent while where we don't meet each other because of the whole zombie apocalypse. You'd think David would be looking for him, but no, supposedly not. He is the Ben of the season. I mentioned this in the previous episode, in that he just makes mistakes after mistakes, sort of, until the end when he sort of redeems himself. The only Ben to do so, really. And other than that, I feel like he's sort of underused. He's sort of just always mad. He does help the story, but not very great. So, only respectable, I think I can say. The, I think I'm gonna put him there. Okay. And now, Kate. Kate is... Sorry. Christ. Didn't know Kate would elicit such a reaction. She again, like, the thing is, the main characters in season 3 are actually sort of well written. The 4 main characters that went out at the last one of, really. But all the rest of them aren't. Like, they're just not there, and that's what makes the season not good. The quality is only really put into the main characters instead of to everyone. Kate is more so than than Gabe, but I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't call her anything in a certified G. And if she is a certified G, I actually think she only just goes there. I think I might just put her there. I think that's where she goes, because she's not better than Bonnie, even though Bonnie has mistakes. Because what she actually, all she actually does is gets injured for one episode to actually really move the story forward. Other than that, it's just sort of her as sort of your sidekick. Mariana, perhaps the worst instance of a telltale moment is with her. The most grievous instance. It's going to be completely indifferent from me because we don't really. She affects the story in the fact that she got telltale momented, but what else happened? You know what I mean? Not really much. I'm going to put. I'm gonna put I think. Put a Reggie. Right, there we are. Next we have Max, I think his name is. Where is he? Yeah. He's the person who mentions how John is the big bad. I guess that's how he affects it. I feel like I saw that coming, and that's more or less all he does. I mean, he is around for a bit. Him and David do have a few conversations, which sort of show that the trust is not completely there with everyone. He's sort of the better one of these two. Um, but I think it's like respectable to like here. I think just Vernon can move. Next we have Badger. Badger is sort of more evil version of Max, really. Why do we keep doing that? He is he does allow for a very great revenge sort of scene. In gaming, really, and he's what really sort of makes the villains out to be the villains. The rest, like, she's just evil eventually, but you only really dislike them at the one point because of him. So you have to give him credit for that, don't you? I think. I think I can put him just higher than Mariana, like literally. No, no. Is he an indifferent character? He does more for the story than Max does. Maybe just Brenda. Right, next we have Trip. No, Trip is probably one of my favourite characters in season 3, because not for a reason that would let me put him on here at a certain amount, but because he's just actually a very good-spirited person. He gets mad, but he's forgiving eventually. Even with the most like worst things that you could possibly do, he will forgive you. And it takes a big man for that. So I have to give him it for that. He's definitely better than Max and Badger. He's definitely not a certified G if Nick isn't, because I feel like that's the writing level that we're getting like here, sort of Omid level. So who do I think just below Gabe. There we go. I realise how horrible this whole tier list looks. Like the boxes going up and down, but as long as the faces are possible and I've basically got all the pictures that I need, I think it should be good. Right, next we have Conrad from season 3, just like the rest of him. He sort of embodies season 3, but to be fair to him, he is a little bit of a sign of change within Telltale, in the fact that you can kill him in episode 2, but you can also live to the end, instead of him getting killed off the next episode in a different way. It really depends on your biases, but the bias that you were implanted really with season 1 and 2, you sort of have to kill him. Like that's the bias that you already have. I think it's just there. Um, just a moment off indifferent, because other than that, I just see him as someone who, um, someone who's made to make Trip mad later on, which doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. So that moves us on to Eleanor. I honestly don't know if she always betrays you or if she only betrays you if you make Trip, if you make Trip mad, and I don't know if you can not make Trip mad if you do some other things. But the way she acts in that general sense, and then she just betrays you, um, is one of the only ways that Conrad would have pushed the story forward, being making Trip mad and then making her mad, which makes her wanna betray you. I think given that that's all she does, it's the only main thing she really does is help you. She's sort of just again, it's not a villain's thing though. It's not that she just doesn't do much. It's just that she's not really like she always is traveling with you, but never really gets anywhere. There's not more I know about her than someone like Carver, like the past of all these people. Um, they're haunted by the past. So it even says at the start of season 4, I'm pretty sure. But she's just sort of the she's somewhere around here. I think just the. That brings us on to Jesus, who everyone loves Jesus. He loves you. But in this game, I'm inclined to agree, to be honest. He's one of my favourite characters in season 3. He's no nonsense. He will, we know more about his past as well. He has, people he's trying to save, trying to help. Really, again, one of the more tightly written characters in season 3. Certified G, honestly. A little bit higher than Kate even. Because all we really learn about Kate is with David, now with you, and gets hurt. So yeah, I can put him just there. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, it's my list anyway, in it, so it's like, what are you gonna do about it? Gonna cry? I'm here to make a list, okay? It's my list. It's my opinion list. It's a list of my things that I opine. I don't know. Next we have Ava. Ava is the only character we really first meet in a flashback. In that she uh, talks with Clem into being a bit more calm about how AJ with the New Frontier and being a crony of the old New Frontier. That's not really the biggest, let's say, award that you should get for that. Um, but it's not like she's a bad character for that. She sort of just she shows her care in what she does, and when she does, you can tell she's trying to make it right for everyone in the whole situation. We don't know much about her, so that will knock it down a bit. In that she's just there to help. Obviously, as it gets further on, there'll be less people inclined to share their pasts. But we did get a whole season here where the party ends up sharing pasts. But we'll talk about that in a minute. She she's mm, she's very respectable, but like around here again, this is the season 3 characters area. It seems you can only really put one more person here, but I feel like there will be a few more people going on here, so we'll just have to see the final list. Honestly, like we know that B is very respectable, so eventually just move people on. Yeah, she's less so than Kate. Not Kate, Eleanor. But yeah, there we go. We move on to Dr. Lingard, who is one of the more helpful characters in the season. The fact that he is, he honestly has probably the most difficult choices attached to him. Um, with the whole remove the Doctor, kill him, but you get to know where AJ is. Now, you do end up finding out anyway, so the choice is easy in hindsight, but you never know that while playing. Um, so yeah, and you can see that there's some characterization there with him always being out of it. It seems all of the all of the medication has been used on himself. It's a very I would put him in this area, but I don't know. It's either this area or up here, like just right there. I think right at the end here, in fact. Because again, these people here in season 2 don't really get much for the story done, while he does. This is like the reason that sort of season 4 even really happens. Next we have Joan, who is the villain of season 3. Sort of a flat one, to be honest. She sort of just is a bit evil, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing really to it. There's no real distinct reason behind it. For Carver, it's to survive. For the stranger, it's because of his family. For Lily, it's because they have a water fight. She just raids. The reason, I guess, is that she needs more food, but like, there's ways to establish trade that you could have done. Which you can't really make any of those excuses for these people. They just have a very strict philosophy. So, the worst villain on this list so far has to sort of beyond very respectable. There are people who work for her who were better. For example, Badger. Won't call her indifferent because she does obviously do a lot for the story. I think here. There we go. And our final character of season 3 is Clint, who I'm sort of indifferent to. We don't really get much about him. He's sort of just a secondary villain that honestly just dies like a moment after. I think he always dies as well. He always gets killed. Or at least as long as you take the deal. If you take his deal, he dies. Or you can shoot Joan. So it's really a choice. But again, we get less thought about him than about Joan. I think I just really don't really know much about him, so I can't really put him anything but like maybe past Michelle because we know a little bit more about him than about Michelle. But that's it. That is really it. Next, we move on to season 4. Of course, my favourite season, which is weird because we're moving from the worst written season to the best one. So, while we might not be getting more people in Unforgettable, I can't call anyone in season 4 on that list down there unforgettable, so we'll rule that out. Obviously, there can't be any goats on there because, yeah. But I don't see any woats on there, and I don't think I see any indifference on there. Except maybe one or two. But let's see. Let's rank them and we'll see. Oh, here we go. Here we go again. Me and my mistakes. And make sure that's alright. That should be fine. We're halfway there. We've been recording for 25 minutes. Sorry, I mean enjoying a Galaxy Minstrel. Right. So we have Tennessee to begin with. Who, as I mentioned, he's the Ben of this season. So we had, in order, we have Ben himself. Then we have Sarah, who is here. Then we have Gabe, who is here. So, he's not a better character than Ben himself. He is a better character than Gabe, and obviously that makes him a better character than Sarah. But where? I think here maybe? Nah. Here. Below Molly. Just below Molly. I think. Next we have Marlon, who I think is an incredibly interesting character in the season. However, the way he ends up being, and the fact that he only appears for one episode, will bump him down a little bit. But I think for that one episode, he leaves a force that makes you think that he's there for the whole time, really. Sort of sticks in your head. A very good sign of the writing getting better with that first episode at the end was his whole turn, his whole situation, everything that we know about him and that we learn about him later. That's the thing as well. We learn more about him later in the season, which you don't really do in any of these because it wouldn't work. Because you're meeting people who all know each other instead of meeting people as you go along. Is that learning more about Marlon later in the season will further strengthen what you think about him. Yeah, I think Marlon is higher than 10 on this list, but to what extent? He's up here, you know, he is. There will be a lot of season 4 characters up here. But he's the first one. He probably goes... here, I think. Yeah, so replacing Catcher. This is going to take a long time. Well, that did take a while. That took like a whole minute and a half. And I'm going to have to do probably a lot of these if there's a lot of characters up here. Oh, this is going to take a while. And a while to edit. It's going to be a long video. I'll be surprised if this video is less than an hour in the final version. But I guess we'll see. I've been recording for 30 minutes already. By now it'll be near the end. It was season 2. Ranking, but we'll see. Next is Violet. Now, Violet, I've made my thoughts on. She's sort of the more option that I like choosing in season 4 compared to Lewis, but both have the both have the merits. I think that Violet just has more merits. She the way she opens up to you eventually, from the very start of episode 1 to the to the eventual episode 2, and the way that she just her general character is more, it just goes more deep than I guess the rest of the characters in the entire series do often. And again, it's another sign of Telltale knowing that they should use less characters like they did in season 4. Make them characters better over the runtime, instead of messing about with 50 characters in one season, none of them good, or none of them very good. So where does that put her? I think that puts her more than Marlon, which means that I'm going to have to move them all again. Over Ben, maybe? Maybe over Ben, to be honest. I think this is the only time that Ben's getting moved, but yeah, I think I actually do put her over Ben. Out of all these characters, I enjoyed her character out the most. So I think it'll have to be over Ben. Here's another very, very long amount. Right, I'm going to count it, you know. So it's 33:45 when I'm starting moving it. Oh, this is actually taking ages. Right, I'm finished, finally. That took ages. It went from 33:45 to 36:45. So 3 minutes it took me to move all those. So I'm assuming that this will be a shorter recording than I thought it would, considering a lot of it have been moving. I used to just pause it, but like, I think it's just not worth doing. Like, I can just cut it out. Next we got Willy, who starts off strange, but honestly becomes not horrible at by the point. It's definitely not going in certified G. But he can be very respectable, somewhere around the middle, probably. He's less there than probably Gabe. Trip, Arvo, yeah. There then. Boom. There we go. Next we have Ruby, who I have a similar opinion of, in that she doesn't really do much for the story, but she does bring a lot to the game, in that she is well written, like the rest of Season 4 characters, but only a few of them actually do something for the story. I would put her in Certified G, but I wouldn't put her horrifically high in Certified G. Better than Jesus, like the Beatles. There we go. Next is Lewis, who will definitely be going on the Certified G category. How high, I'm not sure. I think he has as much character as Violet, but I wouldn't call him a character that. Well, it depends on who you really save, but it's whoever between Violet and Lewis will affect the story more as a choice during episode 2 and 3. I would only put him higher than Carly, I think. There we go. Next we have Broder, who obviously gets even less screen time than Marlon himself. But she proves to be the sort of sidekick to him. Except for at the end when she's the one who reveals it all. And if it weren't for that, the whole course of the season would have been completely different. We would have probably got took by Lily's group, and that would have been the end of it. So she does affect it that much, but we don't really get much more about her than that. I think just bottom Certified G. Because of that. It's more of a prevent, which probably would have happened anyway if they were down there. And I reckon we would have been able to fight them off when they showed up. People would have noticed. Next we have a Sim. A Sim sort of, along with Omar, but a bit less so, is gets less things about them too in the season. Mitch is there for a little bit, but a Sim sort of just not there. As with Omar, who will probably get the same place, so we'll actually rank them together right now. I would say that because they both get basically a Sim will get the highest spot, but they'll basically get the same spot. In that they are well written, but that's about it. They don't really do much. I would just put them in completely indifferent if I was going to be honest. Because at least Willie he like builds the bomb. Them two are sort of the people we have to get back, which is I guess why you get less time with them. But there's nothing done to make up for it. Guess you can't make up for it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put Omar. Omar goes here, where Herschel is. And a Sim goes here, where Sarah is. Right, so there we go. I know it's a bit strange to do them both at the same time, but they sort of, it's just the same things happen to them. A Sim's a bit more, I get a little tiny bit more about him, but they are both the people in Season 4 who get the least amount of use, really, by the writers. Next we have Mitch. Mitch will probably be somewhere around Willa in the amount of use that he gets, probably a bit less. Though I do enjoy what happened to him. Well, not what happened to him. I don't enjoy that. I do enjoy the way he goes around the season. I wouldn't call it that much. Probably nah, just below, just below. There we are. Next we have Abel, which is basically the only person from Lily's group that I could actually justify putting, because the rest of them who appear don't really do much. Like they do so little that they can't really be on here. They're not really there. They're just sort of enemies. That I couldn't justify putting them on. Because they were literally that not there. A few of them only had like 1 or 2 voice lines, so it's like, where'd you get it? I get it from appearing for more than a few minutes in multiple episodes, and that's what all of these do, except for like Michelle, I guess. But Michelle is important because she's the first. She actually does something, you know what I mean? Abel's important in that he reveals where Lily's ship is. He's obviously not going to do that, otherwise you don't do what you do at the start of episode 3. I would say that he's probably up here as well. Being, yeah, probably the last person who I'm going to put on this tier, which is actually really, really convenient. I wouldn't call him high up. I would put him like here somewhere, which is what I say for a lot of them, and then he ends up moving up. I would put him like here somewhere though, because he basically only does that. That's basically all he does. Probably better than Brent. Oh, that's the wrong person. Probably better than Brenda. Right, our penultimate new character is James. I have made my thoughts known about James. And I have to put him above. I have to actually put him between these two, to be honest. Now that I look at season 4 characters, he has a flawed philosophy, but at least he brings something new to the table, which has not actually been brought to the table since the very start. He introduces the Whisperers, even just for a minute. He affects the story in quite a great way. The fact that nothing would have probably happened without him. He's quite integral to the entire situation with saving everyone. Is he better than the Stranger? I would say probably so. Finally, we have Minnie, which is more or less one of the most effective characters in the entire series, in that she's the only person. Let me think. No, yeah, she's the only person in the entire series to actually wound Clem. The only person. Now let me think. New Frontier, that's not really a wound. Then you've got the possibility of a scar, but that's a possibility. This is this is the thing that will happen. She is the only person that wounds Clem, and it's the reason that she gets bit. So that's a very effective character right there. A very, very effective character, especially doing that in 2 episodes. Especially with the backstory that they give her. It is up there as a character. It must be, because all of the things sort of line up. Doing it so fast, having a backstory that is explored. Incredibly effective. Incredibly effective. Carly, I think. Better than Carly. So for the final time, I'm going to play this one out. We're going to move them all. So first, we're going to move Broder further down. Then we're going to move Lingard further down. Then we're going to move Kate further down. Then we're going to move Bonnie further down. Then we're going to move Jesus further down. Then we're going to move Reba further down. Then we're going to move the Stranger further down. Then we're going to move James further down. Then we're going to move 10 further down. Then we're going to move Molly further down. Then we're going to move Doug further down. Then we're going to move David further down. Then we're going to move Carver further down. Then we're going to move Rebecca further down. Then we're going to move Katja further down. Then we're going to move Marlon further down. Then we're going to move Pete further down. Then we're going to move Jane. Where's Jane? Further down. Then we're going to move Chuck further down. And then we're going to move Kyle further down. To finish off the 71 characters ranked for The Walking Dead game. It has been 59 minutes. I've been recording for an entire hour. And here are the results. Let's see how much I agree. Clem is better than Lee. Yes. Is better than Kenny. Yes. Is better than AJ. Yes. Is better than Lily. Yes. Is better than Javier. Yes. Is better than Violet. Yeah, because he has to sort of be. He's the protagonist. Is better than Ben. Yes. Is better than Luke. Yes. Is better than Luke. Is better than Krista. Yes. Krista is better than Lewis. Slightly. Lewis is better than Minna. Slightly. Minnie's better than Carly. Yeah. Carly's better than Chuck. Yeah. Chuck is better than Jane. Yeah. Jane's better than Pete. Yes. Pete is better than Marlon. Yes. Marlon's better than Katja. Yes. Katja is better than Katja is better than Rebecca. I don't know what that was. Yeah. Rebecca is better than Carver. Yes. David is better than Doug. Is better than David. Yes. David is better than Doug. Yes. Doug is better than Molly. Yes. Molly's better than 10. Yes. 10 is better than James. Slightly. James is better than the Stranger. Yes. Stranger is better than Ruby. Slightly. Ruby is better than Jesus. Yeah. Jesus is better than Molly. Better than Bonnie. Yes. Bonnie's better than Kate. Yes. Kate is better than Lingard. Yeah. Lingard's better than Brody. Just slightly. Brody's better than Omi. Yes. Omi's better than Nick. Yes. Nick's better than Alvin. Yes. Alvin's better than Sean. Yes. Sean's better than Andy. Yeah. Andy's better than Glenn. Yeah. Glenn's better than Larry. Yes. Larry's better than Sarita. Yeah. Sarita's better than Carlos. Yeah. Carlos better than Gabe. Yes. Gabe's better than Trick. Just slightly. Trick's better than Arva. Yes. Arva's better than Willa. Yeah. Will's better than Mitch. Yeah. Mitch is better than Walter. Yeah. It's better than Matthew. You guys get it. Yes. Matthew's better than Danny. Yeah. Danny's better than Badger. Yes. Badger's better than Eleanor. Yes. Eleanor's better than Ava. Yes. Ava's better than Abel. Just slightly. Abel's better than Brenda. Yes. Brenda's better than John. Yes. John's better than Max. Yeah. Max is better than Vernon. Yeah. Vernon's better than Conrad. Yes. Conrad's better than Asim. Slightly. Asim better than Omar. Slightly. Omar's better than Sarah. Yes. Sarah's better than Herschel. Yes. Herschel's better than Troy. Yes. Troy's better than Doug. Yes. Doug's better than Mike. Yes. Mike's better than Marianne. Yes. Marianne's better than Reggie. Who's better than Mike. Who's better than Clint. Who's better than Michelle. Who's better than Bree. Unfortunately, Bree doesn't do much. Bree really doesn't do much. Isn't helpful. It's sort of always a bit passive aggressive for no reason that's really explained. All the rest of the characters do things for the story in some way or another. Even Michelle gets Mead killed. We choose a random character. Him, that's not a character. Them, that's Jane. Jane obviously does a lot. Okay, that's closest to Herschel. Herschel provides a little bit of insight into what's actually going on at the start. But yeah, that's a tier list I can say and agree with. There's no characters that are so bad I would call them shaky to the core. Walt, of course. Actually, no, there is. There's Bree. Bree really does nothing. Is there for no reason, so it goes to Walt. But there's literally nothing. No one else that actually falls for that reason. But there's 71 characters ranked. The next tier list will be next week on Wednesday. It will be something unrelated to The Walking Dead. I'll see what I can come up with, and then there'll be another one after that, and that'll end season 1 of tier lists, as I mentioned last time. But other than that, I've been Zwexter. This has been a very, very long and tiring tier list, and goodbye.